And how we doing, folks, on this lovely Sunday night or Monday morning, again, depending on where you live. If I sound obnoxious and very loud, please let me know. I'm peaking in the yellow zone, which is the green zone for me, at least from an audio perspective. And things are going well. It's been a good week. It's been a long week. I don't know why. The videos recently on the channel have been 10, 15, even 20 minutes long. And I usually try to condense, like, the revenue differences between like a 10-minute video and a 5-minute video are pretty marginal. I don't stretch videos unless, the video itself beckons the extra information. So if I can shave it down, it's good, because viewer retention rates are usually around 30%, which means that approximately 30% of the way into the video, the average person times out of the video, which means that I either lost your interest or you skipped around or whatever. So actually, I think fewer than half of you actually watch the entire video all the way through. And that's true for most YouTube videos. This isn't a unique thing for us or anything. But that's why I try to shave the videos down, just because sometimes you lose the viewer just because of all the information you're throwing at the viewer, or because there's like dead time in between. You don't want any of that because they're taking time out of their day to watch your videos. You got to keep them hooked. You don't want to lose the hook. All right, so what's going on, folks? I have the chat pulled up right here. The names that you're seeing scrolling down below are the Patreon and YouTube supporters. So if you see the join button below this window here on YouTube, that join button is for the YouTube. It used to be called YouTube sponsors. It's not that anymore. They've changed it to join. It's like $5 a month. I'm not asking for that. That's not a requirement by any means. But this is something I can kind of do special for those people, because I haven't been able to really differentiate their contributions from just the average viewer. So I can kind of give them a public shout out here with that. So all their names are scrolling here, and they'll be looping throughout the live stream. So I'll go through every week. I manually input these. So I'll go through every week and make sure that the names that are in there are still in this little scroll wheel thing. And then I'll add any additional names if we have new Patreon supporters or new YouTube donors, whatever. So, yep. All right. So we have a couple of questions to kick things off. Obviously, if you read the title, this is a Q&A. You can ask me whatever you want, preferably about tech. I don't talk about a few different topics that are very controversial, obviously. But in the tech space, anything's fair game. If I don't know something, I will do my best to research the topic and address it either in a future video, which is great for ideas, because I'm always open to new ideas for videos, or in another live stream, or on Twitter or something, assuming you have a Twitter or Instagram, whatever. Usually it's a video or Q&A. So I see, let's see, Trojan Gaming. Hey Greg, do you know any good desks under 70 bucks that can hold a dual 23-inch monitor setup and a PC? People recommend a Linman, but I would like to know if there are any other good desks. I had an old L-shaped desk that I used when I was still in college that was pretty cheap. I don't know if it was 70 bucks cheap, but it was a cheaper desk, just like the particle board that they like put some like coating on, and they kind of try to clean it up and stuff. But excuse me, architecturally speaking, it's pretty cheap. So that's what I would recommend. I think an L-shaped desk in general is a good type of desk to have, because you can differentiate all of your different, you can have like a separate section of your desk just for work, like, papers and stuff, and then you can have like another section of your desk just for your PC and your monitors. And that setup there should be plenty of space for dual monitors and a PC, so just something to watch out for. Okay, here, scrolling down to, let's see, Joseph O asks, Science Studio, would I buy, or should I buy, a Crossfire 580 or a single 1070 Ti? I would do my best to avoid Crossfire SLI, just because you might run into that one situation. Like SLI is, I haven't used Crossfire very much personally. I've done a few tests with Crossfire, but I've never actually used a Crossfire config as a daily driver for a while. I've used SLI configs a lot. I can tell you that 9 out of 10 games are going to be fine with SLI, or they're not going to use SLI at all. But very few games, I would say maybe 1 out of 10, are going to have issues, like severe stutter issues with SLI. So if you happen to play that one game that, stutters, then you're going to be very disappointed. So I would do my best to stay away from it, just because you get a lot of bang for your buck in the GTX 1070 territory. Even a single RX 580 is plenty. So if you're gaming in up to 1440p and you're okay with medium to high settings, a 580 can handle that. 4K is a different story. It gets really tough up there. You're gonna have to really drop some settings. It's doable, especially in some of the don't want to say weaker titles, but the titles that aren't as graphically intensive. But I would say up to 1440p, even a 580 is fine. So maybe just consider a single 580 over a 1070 Ti if you're into saving some money. You can always buy a second 580 later on if you're really, wanting to upgrade. Let's see here. We have Axatori. Axatori, is that how you say your name? How long have you had your chair and has it held up? This thing's held up. I have two of these. One is here and the other one's right next to me on the other PC. And they've been holding up fine. I like Vertigear. I use Vertigear chairs only. And they don't pay me to do that. I haven't gotten a dime from Vertigear, but I like their chairs. I like this style chair. I know people are like wholeheartedly against racing chairs, but this one fits my body. I'm really skinny, so this one fits me perfectly. Excuse me, and it's got good lumbar support, believe it or not. And at least for me, I'm not going to be super picky about it. I just like the way that it wraps around me. It makes me feel like I'm sitting snug in the chair. We also have a Trigger, or Traeger, whatever you want to call it, 275. Which is the more ergonomic style chair from Vertigear, and I use that in the film room. It's another great style chair if you're into something that's a bit more, long-term comfortable, especially if you have back issues. That might be a chair you consider instead. But these chairs have held up fine, and like I said, there's nothing holding me to Vertigear. So because they're not paying me, I can jump ship whenever I want. But I haven't had any issues with these chairs, and I've had Pepsi, our little cat. She's been jumping all over these things, clawing into them, and chairs holding up fine. So I would say they're actually made fairly well. Let's see. Jetta, I don't know how you say your last name. Why did you ditch the Macbook if Final Cut Pro is better? Because Final Cut Pro, in my opinion, is not better. I think that Adobe Premiere Pro is leaps and bounds better. From just the ability to manipulate video. It's the UI I'm much more familiar with. Once you get used to one interface, it's very difficult to change because all the buttons and settings are in different places. So Warp Stabilizer, I know exactly where that is in Premiere Pro, but I have no idea where to get to that in Final Cut. Actually, I do. I've used Final Cut quite a bit, but having to switch back and forth is a pain. There are several functions in Final Cut Pro I don't know how to do that I can do in Premiere Pro. Color grading and all that stuff I'm more comfortable doing in Premiere Pro, and that's why I was looking for a small portable laptop that was powerful enough to run Adobe Premiere Pro and get decent render times, decent scrubbing on the timeline and whatnot. And the MacBook X Pro does that, especially with that dedicated GPU, the MX150, and it's the good MX150, not that terrible one. I was playing PUBG at like 50 FPS in low settings, 1080p. It's not bad for an Ultrabook. I mean, we're talking as thin. It's literally like the same size as a MacBook 13-inch, but it handled it like a champ. I mean, better than any other Ultrabook I've ever tested, so I'm not going to complain about it. And I was happy with the MacBook, but I'm even more happy that I can use Final Cut or Premiere Pro again with an Ultra Portable. Okay, let's see here. Smoothie asks, are you waiting for a game this year? Interesting question. Not really. I'm very picky about the games that I play. It takes a lot for me to invest heavily in a game. The last game to do that was PUBG for me. And I still play it even though it frustrates the heck out of me sometimes. I play it a lot. Just because it's a good pastime with friends. I play that with Lisa, I play it with my brothers, I play it with Will, and it's just I don't know, it's a cool dynamic game in the sense that you're forced to kind of communicate and work together. Before that was GTA 5. I played that for like 4 years, both on console and on PC. And then before that was a few Call of Duty titles, but very specific games. City Skylines I really like. It's really, there's a handful of them. So in particular, no, nothing that stands out. But I will be sure to let you know if I start binging on something, because I'm sure you'll see it in Discord. I'll be playing it all the time. Let's see, Mr. Plow 2, your name. Need a GPU now? Buy a 1050 and upgrade later, or just wait for 1070, 1170, 1160? Well, if you need a GPU now, I think that answers your question. I mean, I don't know how badly you need it now, but if you need it now badly enough, then maybe you should buy a 1050 now and then sell it later and get an 1170 or whatever. So, yeah, there you go. GOAJDM asks if a 970 Evo is good. Sure, I've used plenty of Evo drives from Samsung, and they're great. I think if you can find them, if you can get a 500 gig for around 100 to 120 bucks, you're sitting gold, and that's hard to come by, especially with the newer drives. You usually can find 950 Evos even for around $100 now for about half a terabyte. So that's really good from an SSD perspective because they're leaps and bounds faster than a hard drive. So something else to keep in mind. Okay, let's see here. Jeremy R says, "Oh, come on, Greg, that's a lie. Everyone is waiting for Cyberpunk 2077. Would you hate me if I told you I had no idea what that was? Like, I don't even know if that's a real game, but if it is, I've never heard it before. I just realized that my little thing... Oh, no, it's working. Let's see. I'm going to fix the Crash Bandicoot thing. Scroll them up a little bit. There we go. It looks like text on the bottom is getting cut out, but I don't know. It might be. Okay, here we go. Scrolling down just a little bit more. Tapsy Lone says, "Hello from the Philippines. Anakin Bounty 97, I can't hear you. Please raise your mic." My mic is like maxed out, dude, so problems on your end because no one else, as far as I know, is complaining about the sounds. So you might want to check your device. Let's see, Trucker Bomb, $2 super chat. Thank you, Trucker Bomb. Trucker Bomb is a longtime supporter of the channel, both via YouTube. He is he's been a donor for a while, and he always shows up at the live stream. So I appreciate you, and for your contributions in Discord. You're very active there as well. Tried AMD Store MI yet? Can we get a video on it? I'm sorry. I know you guys asked that last week. I'm still working on it. I wanted to have it up this weekend, but it just... The delidding video took like 3 days to put together, and then the painting video took longer than I thought too. So I'm going to have to move that back to next week, but I want to have it out by next week because AMD is actually pressing me on that too because they sent me a bunch of stuff for it and I haven't actually put the video together yet. So yeah, I'll get to it very soon. Trojan Gaming asks, "Hey Greg, when will you do PUBG streams again?" Very soon. I want to do it with Lisa. Like I feel like if I stream by myself, I'm just gonna rage at players and like you're just gonna hear me getting angry all the time. I don't really do that great by myself. I do really well in a duo. I don't do very well in squads. I feel like there are too many people to worry about with squads, but with duos, as long as you're synced up with that one other person, which is why I like playing with Lisa, because we're right next to each other, and we know each other really well, we can communicate, like, hey, you got the guy on the left, I got the guy on the right, okay, shoot now, boom, you know, and it's like problem solved. But with 4 people, like, you can't really get all that stuff vibing very well, and that's kind of why I shy away from it. Okay, Bazinga, $50 super chat, Bazinga, 24... I'm gonna screenshot this just for her. She'll really appreciate that, Bizing. I appreciate your YouTube support as well. Your name should be scrolling down here. You'll see it at some point. And then those of you, by the way, who are both YouTube and Patreon supporters will have their name scrolling at double time. So you'll see your name twice down there. I don't really know. Like, I know Smitty you see Smitty right there? Smitty is both a YouTube and Patreon supporter. So you'll see his name twice. So, you know, it's really hard for me to give you like double the stuff, double the benefits if you're gonna like monetarily support us. But that's the best I can do at this point. I apologize. Let's see. I'm gonna scroll down. Thanks again though, Bazinga. That's a lot of money, my dude. I appreciate it. I know Lisa and Pepsi will. You hear that, Pepsi? Somebody gave you $24. I've been trying all this different cat food. This cat is picky. I have a serious headache, like, on the top of my head. She's super picky. Like, I bought her 3 different kinds of cat food now, and she's, like, I don't know if she just wants a certain kind of cat food on any particular day, and she wants me to, like, cycle through all 3 flavors. I don't know. Whatever she did, it worked, because I have, like, 4 bags of different cat food on top of the fridge, and I don't know which one she wants at any given time, so I just kind of mix them up. Anyway, okay. Scrolling down here. Let's see here. Let's see. Nick H. Science Studio. I'm thinking of deleting my CPU. Should I go for a direct die mount or a copper IHS replacement? Copper IHS, interesting. I don't know about the cost of actually either one. When I was using DeBauer's kit, I didn't bother to even look up the price. I think if you're gonna delid and like direct die mount, you've probably got a pretty big budget anyway. It's more of an enthusiast thing. So with that in mind, I would say if direct die mounting is possible with your chip, I think that's the better option. People say that it's unsafe. As like DeBauer's kit was perfectly fine. You know, I didn't have any issues with my direct die mounting kit. The issue again though, like the reason why you have the IHS there, not just to transfer the heat, but also to prevent that die from being crushed by all that pressure that you apply to the board with, you know, and to the socket with your cooler. You know, if you think about it, you're really torquing those coolers onto those sockets. You know, there's a really hard press between the CPU, the IHS in particular, and the cooler. So when you're direct die mounting, you want to be careful not to over torque, because you could actually split that die, and it's happened more than once. I've seen it happen before. So you got to be careful with that. But that's really the only risk involved. I think you'll get better results with the direct die mounting. But if there's a huge disparity in price, then just using a copper IHS is fine, I'm sure. Just stick with something that's better than MX4, something like Cryonaut, Conductonaut, Icy Diamond if you want to get weird with it, but I would just stick with liquid metal if possible. Okay, scrolling down here. Oh, Anakin Bounty said, I raised my volume, so it's good now. There you go, see? Okay, scrolling down here, scrolling down. Okay, Lateral G asks, if I was to pair the Thermaltake aluminum radiator with the EK aluminum products, would I be fine? In theory, yes. Now, I don't know how different the manufacturing processes and the QC standards are for both companies. You know, EK aluminum rads might be more pure than Thermaltake. Thermaltake might have several impurities in the cooler or in the radiator that you'll have to clean out. Make sure that you flush everything before you combine these components. And I would stick with, look, the radiator is going to have the most surface area, right? So I would stick with the liquid or the coolant that's included in the kit with the radiator that you're using, because that's where most of the fluid's going to spend its time, is in that radiator. If you stick with that, I mean, I can't guarantee you anything, but in theory, yes, you should be fine doing that, because aluminum's aluminum, right? I mean, there are different grades of aluminum, but it's just a metal. So, you know, with the impurities and stuff, you got different variances there. I'd say, I mean, I would do it. I would give it a shot. Worst case, you find out that you can, it starts gunking up, you notice that there's residue and buildup inside different blocks and stuff, and you have to clean it out, but I don't think it'd be catastrophic. Just pay attention to it over time. Okay, scrolling down here. Jamie Williams, what's the cheapest, best GPU you ever bought? I snagged a 980 a few months back for $100, or roughly 130 US. Not bad. That's a really good find. 980 is equivalent to about a 1060-ish. It's in 1060 territory, but a 1060 6 gig costs what, $300, maybe a little under that. But a 980, granted, it's going to draw a bit more power. A 980 is going to be much cheaper in the used market, so that's a really good find there. I think the best that I ever found, I bought a 980 Ti for $230, something like that. 980 Ti is about 1070, so I literally paid almost half price at the time for a 980 Ti that 1070s were going for, which is a comparable card from a performance perspective. You know, I know that NVIDIA drivers now kind of degrade the older stuff, but still, it's in that realm. So that was probably the best one that I had. It was I can't remember what brand it was. Oh gosh, I want to say it was an EVGA 980 Ti, because I had a 980 Ti before that, and that was an MSI. MSI, it was a gold edition or whatever. It was an orange shroud 980 Ti. But yeah, that was something I was interested in, because I didn't want to pay full price for a 1070, and they were hard to find. Bazinga X, $2 super chat again, my dude. How about a step-by-step FreeNAS setup video? Well, yeah, that would be great if I actually had one. I haven't actually built any network attached storage device, PC, whatever you want to call it. I don't have one because I really don't need one. Although Will's been trying to get me one for a long time. A FreeNAS would be cool though. I just need to get the parts and actually do it. I'm a little too cheap to go out and buy 10 5TB hard drives, so that's kind of the downside there. Yeah, I know. Okay, let's see here. What do we have? Oh, Anakin wants a yes, please do free NAS setup, please. Ooh, okay, we got more demand for that, maybe. Linford Kingston, do you think 1440p is better at 144 hertz? I certainly think so. I would trade resolution for a higher refresh rate any day of the week. I really think that a higher refresh rate is beneficial, not only for a gamer, but also, I mean, just daily use. When I see like Windows just scroll across the screen, that like this screen here is 240 hertz. And 240 to 144 is a little harder for me to discern, but going from 60 hertz or even 100 hertz to 144 or 165 is a huge difference there. And I would stay on 1080p if that meant that I could get a higher refresh rate. I would trade 1440p for 144 hertz any day of the week. Scrolling down here. Every time I scroll, it like skips over, and then I lose all your questions. What is going on here? Whoops. There we go. All right. Okay. From the Bay, is there a really noticeable difference between a 1 millisecond and a 4 millisecond monitor in terms of response time? Interesting question. In most cases, no. I've used 1 millisecond monitors. I have plenty of 5 millisecond monitors. I can't tell much of a difference. You'll see ghosting in a few, just a very rare circumstances. I'm sure that there are more trained guys out there than I have that can tell you exactly what response time is what on each monitor. But in my personal experience, I haven't noticed enough of a difference to want me to ditch 5 milliseconds for 1 millisecond. So you can keep that in the back of your head. That's just something I'll tell you. I don't have ultra high speed cameras to show you this stuff. There is a difference, but if it's noticeable enough to the layman, I would say no in most cases. It's usually just a marketing tactic to get people to think that their monitors are better for gaming, when in reality, I mean, any high refresh rate monitor is going to usually have a decent response time anyway. Okay, Blue Scope 819. Recently bought a 780 for 140, and I'm considering painting it. Is there anything I should know before I go ahead? Blue Scope, if you saw my painting video, that's really all. I have those videos out there for a reason, so anything I have to tell you about the painting process, that's the video that I would tell you to watch. That way I don't have to keep explaining it individually to people, but watch that video. I talk about it, the risks and stuff, and what I do when I dissect components and how I paint, and you should have a clean result. Make sure you use the right paint though. JDM what? $5 super chat. Hey Science Studio, longtime fan. Will you check out my website serverbuilds.net on stream? Would love to collab. I will have to check it out. And then I will get back to you. I tell you what, I'm gonna put it in my browser right now so I don't forget about it. Serverbuilds.net. And if you are not in the Discord already, $145 NAS Killer Vision version 2, the Terminator. Ooh, my dude. Yeah, join Discord if you haven't already, and then ping me, just at me in there. I'll see your notification, and then we'll go from there, my dude. Thank you for that $5 super chat. Tapsy Lawn. I'm choosing between Deepcool Castle 240 or 280 millimeters, excuse me, and a Corsair H115i non-pro 280. Which one would you recommend? I haven't used the Corsair H115. I've used the Deepcool Castle though. From an aesthetic standpoint, that's really where I would make my decision. I think you're probably gonna have a stronger pump in the H115i. So if you care more about performance, the marginal performance difference, I mean, really pump speed is kind of, at a certain point, you kind of reach this area where there aren't any changes between pump RPM and actual cooling performance, right? Because if you have a slower pump, then the fluid's going to take longer to cycle through your system, but it's also going to take longer to move through your radiator, so it'll lose more energy in the radiator. But if you have a faster pump, then you're pulling heat quicker away from other sources. At the same time, though, your fluid's probably not going to cool as quickly. So it's kind of a trade and blow there. But in general, both are fine, I'm sure. I know the 115i is great. I haven't actually personally tested it, but I can say without a doubt that the Castle 280 is also a great cooler. The 280 millimeters is a better one than I have. I have the 240. So yeah, I think both of those are fine. Okay, scrolling down here. Okay. R2 Endar 4074. I think it's supposed to say Render 74. Y'all's names. Whew. At Science Studio, what's the most you've ever paid for a processor? I paid $1,000 for a processor. That was the most I ever paid for one. I did that twice. That's not me bragging. That's me telling you that it was a really stupid idea because the CPUs weren't worth the price tag. Not for what I do. So, yeah. Okay, scrolling down some more here. Let's see. Brian Zhang, when is the M360 build happening? Brian, it's already on the channel, so you probably missed it, but I built a PC. I showed it. Well, I showed what it all looked like in that video. It was something about me building a new custom loop. I think I built a Ryzen 7 PC with it, but you should watch that video. It's 4 or 5 videos back. Anyway, let's see. James Fondren, he wants me to talk about music for a minute. By the way, it's 1G, not 2Gs. My name is Greg, not Greg Gugu. I'm just ripping on people with that spelling. Anyway, talk about music for a minute. Okay, my favorite band. I have two favorite bands. One of them is Breaking Benjamin. I've seen them 3 times in concert now. My second favorite band, or my other favorite band, is Bring Me the Horizon. I like their new stuff. I think as far back as probably Sempiternal or There Is a Hell. I would be on the fence about both of those, but after that, right? I think Sempiternal was really good. I like That's the Spirit a lot. I like how they changed their vibe a little bit. So yeah, in that realm of possibility. After that, maybe it starts going down the line. I really like Hinder. I like My Darkest Days, 3 Days Grace. A lot of old school stuff, Scorpions, Def Leppard, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, all the good stuff that define what we hear now on the radio. Okay, scrolling down here. Let's see. Alex David, what are your thoughts on the Note 9? Doesn't look like anything special to me, just off the top. I've watched a few of the preliminary reviews. They weren't in-depth reviews because I'm pretty sure they're bound by an NDA, but nothing about that phone really surprises me, and I don't think it's worth the price, to be honest. Okay, let's see. Dudley, $5 super chat. My cat Schrodinger, how do you say that? Says this is to buy your kitty some catnip. Oh, okay. Pepsi, y'all are spoiling her. You can't do that. She's sleeping on the chair right here. She did originally respond to me. She's not doing that now. But anyway, she is definitely an interesting character, and I have some catnip actually in a little bag. And every time I pour some, I'll just pour it. Like, she has a big cat tree that I bought her, and every time I want to just distract her, let her, stop biting cables when I'm building a PC, I'll take some of her catnip and I'll pour it all over her cat tree, and she just goes nuts. So she will appreciate that. I will be sure to buy her some more catnip, and I will thank Dudley, and I'm sure Pepsi will too, when she wakes up. She's gonna be up all night tonight. Every time she sleeps at like 8 or 9 p.m., she wakes up at like 1 in the morning, and then she goes insane, like crazy, for 4 hours while I'm trying to sleep. She'll sprint into the room, jump up on the bed with me, and then turn around and sprint back out, knock her head on the door, and run into everything else. Cats have the tapetum lucidums in their eyes they can see in the dark because they have those little mirrors or reflectors. I don't think I see them in her eyes, but I don't think she actually uses them because she runs into stuff all the time. I don't know if that's just her not knowing what's what, or maybe she's a little short. Tech Yes City, my boy Brian is in the chat. Totally, you could have been in the live stream today. I didn't even ask you about that. We were talking earlier today about YouTube and other things, and I should have asked you about the live stream. I had posted that like right when we were talking too. I didn't even think about it. Brian, if you take me up on my offer, you can be in the next live stream with me. I will do you the honor. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, and if you want me hanging out back in your live stream, let me know, my dude. Brian and I are we're on the same wavelength. Brian's good people, and that's why we have the joint Discord. So Tech Yes or Science Yes City is our tag team Discord where everybody from both channels can come in. It's all totally free. You can come in there and hang out with us and talk tech and whatever else you feel like talking about. Let's see, Mr. KF Gaming. What's going on, Mr. KF Gaming? Looking good with that yellow battery there. Do you feel like the lumbar pillow on the SL2000 feels like it's trying to force you out of your chair? Maybe I'm using mine wrong, or maybe it's the wrong thing. Okay, so that's a good question. I have mixed feelings about that. I do like the way that it bolsters me, and I think the only reason why it doesn't feel like it's forcing me out of the chair is because the side, like I don't know what you call these, the bolsters, seat bolsters. I'm trying to think of like the sides where it kind of sticks out a little bit underneath your arms. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. If it's not, you guys know what I'm talking about. These are the things that always get worn out in cars that you can probably, these things here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So these fit around my back perfectly, and I think that's why I don't feel like I'm being ejected from my chair, because I know that feeling. Just because the chair itself is like so slim, I think it fits me perfect, and that's why I'm happy with it. Well, let's see here. Misfits Josh asks, "Where's McLovin?" McLovin's working, doing his own. I mean, McLovin's got a job. He works at a hospital, and he's been busy. He's been going on. Let's see here. Spirus Visuals, best way to pack and ship a high-end PC. Don't ask me, because I sent one via UPS and it got destroyed. I'd say the best way to do it, ship it via crate, freight it, like just pack it in especially if it's a really expensive PC. You could probably get away with a cheaper, lighter build, just shipping it in the box that it comes in, maybe with some extra padding around the sides. And I know other companies do that, like, NZXT's BLD service ships PCs in that fashion, and they come out all right for the most part. So I would say that it really comes down to how comfortable you are with the build and how expensive and heavy the build is. If it's a custom loop build, I would only ship those freight, just because I've had too many bad experiences with shipping companies to ever trust them in that light ever again. Let's see here. Dark Pie 101, will you be covering Threadripper 2? That question was asked earlier. I will eventually when AMD sends me something. I didn't get anything initially from AMD, so we'll be waiting for that. For now, though, I recommend you check out my boy Brian over at Techie City, because he's got that 2990WX benchmarking all them cores up in that chip. Alright, let's see. Scrolling down here. Joey22688, what do you think about the Case Labs bankruptcy? I mean, I never used a Case Labs case. I thought they made very unique cases. I thought they were a little pricey, but they were well built. Obviously, you're paying for quality. I don't know any of the guys personally over there. I've never talked to any of them, but I know a lot of other tech tubers did have good relationships with that company. So yeah, it sucks. I mean, it sucks to see anybody go under. I don't know enough about their finances to tell you what exactly went wrong, when it went wrong. I know they kind of pinned it on the tariffs and stuff, but I have a feeling things were much deeper than that. That's just the impression I got when I was reading the message. So, I mean, like, if you have really good years, and really good quarters and whatnot, and then all of a sudden a tariff jacks up your import fees or whatever, then usually you can mitigate that in the long run if you have decent finances to back up the interim period. But if they weren't doing great to begin with, if they had very slim margins, then all of a sudden the tariffs bump the price of steel and other components that they use in those cases up above that threshold, then they can't be profitable anymore. But forcing them, being forced into bankruptcy and liquidating assets that's pretty hardcore. Like that just means they don't have enough money, to pay off anything. That's really the only time you liquidate assets, when you when you're struggling. So I wish them all the best. I don't know any of them personally. Again, if any of them are watching the stream or will watch the stream, I hope you guys keep trucking along. It's not something that any of us can really fix. It's just something that they've got to figure out for themselves, and I'm sure they will. They built Case Labs up to what they did. I'm sure they could do it again. It sucks that happened, but they'll figure it out. Let's see, scrolling down to something else good. Jason is asking when your next Craigslist ad reading is on the way. I'm actually going to change it up a little bit. Now, I'm not ditching Craigslist ads because those are still going to be around, but I'm going to try something just a little different in the next iRead video. Just because I've been milking the Craigslist and the Facebook videos for a while. I think I'm going to start another little mini series in that playlist and kind of intertwine that with Craigslist ads, just to get your feedback, because I don't want to keep sticking with the same thing. I feel like people are just going to be posting Craigslist ads that are ridiculous just to get my attention. I've seen a few ads that have already done that very clearly. They're just trolls. So kind of branching off and doing multiple things will allow that market to kind of settle down a little bit, and then we'll be good to go. Thanks, Tech Crimson. By the way, you see our moderator there, Tech Crimson, is linking the Discord. It's a public Discord. You can join it for free. Just download Discord. You can join it and talk to myself, talk to Brian, talk to Will, anyone else in there about whatever you feel is on your mind. Let's see. Trucker Bomb asks, are you as mad about AMD snubbing you off the new TR2 stuff as I am? I mean, it's not, to be fair, it's not AMD who's, like, not sending us stuff. I mean, I'm not going to pitch a fit about not getting something that I feel like I should get. I mean, I'm not even, look at Jay. Jay didn't get one either, and Jay's 4 times our size. So I don't think that it's my place to get mad at AMD. I'm not entitled to anything, and I shouldn't act that way. But at the same time, it's, like I said, it's not AMD who's doing it. It's a distribution company, a marketing company working on behalf of AMD called Edelman, who they suck to work with. Edelman's, they're just terrible. They take forever to reply to emails. You can tell they're just stretched too thin, or they don't know how to organize or manage. And I'll tell them that to their faces. Like, they're just annoying to work with. And there's nothing worse in a company relationship than having to deal with people who can never respond on time. I try my best to respond almost instantly. Like, whenever I get an email from somebody, especially on my phone, like, I try right away to answer as quickly as possible, because I expect the same from them. I want them to respond to me as quickly as I respond to them. Sometimes I go weeks without responding and I feel terrible, but then I try not to do that again. I try to make up for it by being as immediate as possible. So, you know, it kind of just comes down to how professional you want to be, how on the game you want to be. I don't really care for Edelman. I never have. I think it's poor choice on AMD's part to work with a company like that. This has really nothing to do with TR2 at this point. Like, I've had issues getting them to do anything, and it just comes down to who they feel is going to review them properly. We didn't get TR1, or we didn't get Threadripper 1 samples either. So it's not something that surprised me. It really didn't. It surprised me more that Jay didn't get one. I thought it was really strange that Jay didn't get one. It just shows you how clueless they are. Okay, scrolling down. Let's see here. Eric Fainstock? Good gosh, I probably butchered that last name. Do you think AMD will surpass Intel in single-core performance? If it happens, it'll happen soon. I think it'll happen first, actually probably within the next 2 years. I think AMD is going to pass Intel if Intel keeps just taking forever with this 10 nanometer stuff. AMD already on 7 is that's a huge jump. I mean, we've had 7, to be frank, we've had 7 nanometer stuff in chips, right? But we haven't actually had it in mainstream consumer grade processors yet. That's why I think AMD is going to really bring it home with this next lineup, depending on how well it does. And I'm watching AMD stock too, because I want to start playing the market here soon. And AMD stock's looking really juicy right now. So we'll see. All right, Josh asks, at Science Studio, what is an acceptable markup on a build with all new hardware on Craigslist? I've talked about this in a few different live streams. Josh, I would say no more than 10%. Make it a flat percentage, 10%. If it's a cheap build, 10% of $500 is $50. But if it's a $5,000 build, 10% of $5,000 is $500. It's going to take longer to build the more elaborate PCs. To me, that's a fair thing. I wouldn't go more than 10% though. If you want to do it full time, I still probably wouldn't go above 10%. Bazinga X, $10 super chat again, dude. You were just throwing money at us, dude. I appreciate it. Case Lab's issue started with the time to ship, 3 months on average. I had to cancel my last order. Their issue was lack of production capability. Wow, 3 months to ship? I had no idea. That's insane. That's like I was looking for I was looking for a full exhaust kit for my car. And they have a few different companies to choose from. It's a newer car, so there aren't as many aftermarket companies out there that are reputable in the space. So you kind of have to just go with what's available if you want something now, right? And I was looking at an exhaust kit that was, I think it was from Fast Intentions, I want to say is the name of the company. And their exhaust kits were, they were comparable in price, like $1,500 or so for a full catback. And they wanted like 8 to 10 weeks or something like that. It was in the realm of like 2 months to ship this stuff to me. And then their excuse is that they're all handmade components, right? So they hand weld all the steel and stuff. And I'm like, in my eyes, like, why, I get that you don't want to sit on inventory. I get that. But it doesn't hurt to have 10 kits laying around, Like, why do you have to literally make them to order every time? To me, that's just a failed business practice. And people don't, and I've seen on forums, people don't buy their products just because they don't want to wait. When you pay a lot of money for something, you want it now. People are impatient, and rightfully so to an extent, because they're taking your money right away. But you're not, getting the product right away. So yeah, that's my take on it. Let's see here. Yo, Pablo Salazar. He says, hi, Greg. Salazar to Salazar. Congrats. Ha ha. It's a cool ass name, isn't it? The 7980XE you tested before, what was your best overclock in V-Core? The highest I could get on that thing with the cooler. I'm limited not by the overclock, but by the cooler. So that deep-cooled 360 mil AIO couldn't even hold 4.2 gigahertz. And that's not very high. People have gotten 5 gigahertz before. So that chip isn't a very decently bin chip. But on top of that, it is not something that that was limiting from a V-core perspective or whatever. Like the CPU isn't super tolerant. It's just, it's also the cooler is not big enough. It's not beefy enough to handle the overclock. So because the chips just run so hot, which is another reason why I don't recommend X299. But yeah, anyway. Okay, I saw an all caps question here. What was this? Let me see this. Scrolling up here. Matt Lockization asks, why does Greg shill for Intel and NVIDIA? He says that while I'm using an AMD R7 2700 to stream this live stream. So, joke's on you, Matt Lockization. Ha. Scrolling down here. Let's see here. Brian says, be right back. Got a Hawk PC. AMD will give you a sample in time. Just work with Intel and AMD or NVIDIA to see who their products are for, etc. Just avoid the circle jerk negativity stuff out there. Oh, that's why I love Brian. He just calls it straight up. Okay, scrolling down here. Let's see. Get down. Post-apocalyptic Peter asks, pimpin' easy. I wouldn't know. Oh, jeez. Let's see. Jason is Azevedo says, they see me scrolling. They hating. Elias says, ladies and gentlemen, we got them. That's right, folks. Okay, here. I think he's trolling. If he keeps trolling, I'm just going to block him. I don't know why he's doing that. What's going on, Trucker Bomb? I see you again. Dude, every time I see that yellow battery, it just looks better and better. I love that. But you know what's even look better than that? A green battery. You're going to get a green battery next month. Actually, it's coming up pretty soon. So you'll be the first, you and Mr. KF Gaming will be the first 2 green batteries on the channel. Just so you know. Inazuchi, were you a science major in college? I was an engineering major. You should watch my videos on engineering stuff because I talk about what I did there if you want more insight into what I was doing. So you can stop all capsing the question. What are your thoughts on the upcoming GPU announcements launches? I don't really follow the rumors and crap. I looked a little bit at the 1080 or supposed 1080 PCB, but and we did confirm like that the GDDR6 there was a 180. I think it was a 180 pin PGA. So we know it's GDDR6, so it's got to be a next gen card, but what card specifically it is, we don't know. What NVIDIA's going to call it, we don't know. And there was like RTX, like there's all these different like weird names people are finding and stuff, but in general, I don't look at that stuff in depth until we actually see the product launch. And then I do a lot of digging. I look at all the specs, I do a lot of cross analyses with all the different cards they have coming out, compare that to the old stuff, talk about how the architecture itself is different, make predictions based on that, but yeah. Lieutenant Goldenrod, you get a green battery next time, so like you should get it soon, like in the next 10 or 20 days, because it's per month. So after your 3rd month supporting us on YouTube, you get a green battery, or 4th month. Well, on your 4th month, you get a green battery, I should say, because you get a red battery right away. So yeah. Let's see. Ninja Sauce asks, what's your next phone going to be? I really don't know. I've been using the V30 for a while. It's a really good phone, and I'm really happy with it. I really like the V. The only thing that sucks about the V30 is it doesn't have the stereo speaker. I think by this point, stereo speakers, you kind of got to have that. It's really tough going from a stereo speaker phone like the iPhone 7, which was semi-stereo speaker. I know the earpiece speaker was a little trebly, but still speaker, quality from both sides. And then going from that to the LG V30 was kind of tough. So speakers and then the cameras aren't that great. The ultra wide is the best thing about the LG V30, but the actual camera itself is not good compared to some of the competitors. The Pixel 2 XL and the iPhone 10 are really good competitors. Okay, let's see. MedHage, thank you for that. $6.99 Canadian. Shorted me 1 penny. What happened there? Looking for a 7 even. Just kidding, Med. I have a 1700X. I want to purchase an X370 ROG Crosshair Wi-Fi or X470 Gaming 7. Also, best possible 16 gig memory kit to reach at least 3200 gig. Okay, 1700X is really tough to get. I mean, well, not really tough, but it's a lot more difficult to get 3200 megahertz with RAM on a 1700X than a 2700X. Second gen Rison stuff is a big leap forward in that department. I mean, I can enable XMP profile on any kit that I have laying around, even stuff that was out before AMD released first gen Ryzen, and it'll still run like clockwork. But a 1700X is going to be a lot more stubborn. You've got a good motherboard there. The Crosshair and the X470 Gaming 7. Those are both good boards. If you go with the really either one you could hit those frequencies. You're going to be limited more or less by the memory kit itself. So look for kits that have specifically Ryzen compatibility. Those are the chips that are going to be binned to benefit Ryzen architecture. You're going to get the higher frequencies with that. You might not get 3200 megahertz. You might have to spend a lot of money to get that frequency, but it will benefit you because AMD's Infinity Fabric is tied to memory frequencies and timings. So yeah, I think you're on the right track. You just got to find the right kit, and you'll just have to look for the ones that are actually labeled. Adam Stevenson asks, Greg, did you watch Starship Troopers 2? I have not watched Starship. I know the second one is like super cheesy. I mean, the first one was cheesy too. I really like the first one though. I mean, it was cheesy, but in a good way. What's that guy's name? Casper? Not Casper. Van Dyne or Van Deen. I don't remember his name. But yeah, he's a cool guy. I mean, I think he fit the part in the movie. Yeah. Anyway, that movie's kind of weird and funny and creepy. When I was younger, I watched it a lot, so it was always more scary to me. But now that I'm older, I realize that like the bugs and all that crap are just kind of silly. But anyway, let's see. Contra, Greg, what are your thoughts on a 2700X and 1080 Ti for streaming games at 1080p? But that's plenty. It looks really good. It's a good setup there, and it's very well balanced. Let's see. I bought a 120 rad, but no screws to mount the fan. Any ideas on screw size? The threading in radiators is different than the threading in fans themselves. So if the fan screws are the threading's wider and usually taller. So the gap between each thread is bigger. But when you're screwing the screws into a radiator, the threading's gonna be a lot slimmer. I'm trying to think. You could use the screws that you use to mount your motherboard, assuming they're oh gosh, I don't remember if they're M6 or M3 screws, but you could use most of the time you could use the screws that you use to mount your motherboard to mount your radiator to your case. If you need longer screws to mount your fan to your radiator from the other side, that's going to be a little more difficult. You're going to have to actually buy that stuff separately because that won't come in a motherboard kit. Okay, let's see. Post-Apocalyptic Peter says he's on the V20 for the win. It's a good phone too. Lance West, are you getting a 9900K sample from Intel? I don't know, probably not. Intel doesn't send me jack anyway. Let's see, scrolling down. Here, Peter Asamoah at Science Studio. Getting into PC gaming, found an Omen 15 DC0051NR, but reviews say it has CPU heat issues. Should I look for another PC or attempt to undervolt? Also, what laptops would you suggest for 1250? Depends on what kind of laptop you're going for, form factor wise. 1250 is a pretty good price point. You could buy some gaming laptops that are like $800 that'll have like full on desktop grade 1060s in them, but if you want like a sleeker Ultrabook style laptop, Asus has some decent Ultrabook style laptops in that price range, and you'll also get discrete graphics in some of those, the MX150 or MX130. So I would look for those kinds of laptops. If you want to spend a bit more, I recommend the Macbook X Pro. The one with the MX150 is a really great laptop. I use that as my daily laptop, and that's kind of where I'd keep it. If you want bigger than that, there are so many 15.6-inch laptops out there. I just don't like that form factor. So just get the one that has the best specs for the best reviews for the best price. Let's see here. Scrolling down to Matthew Beebe. What's your opinion on Ryzen 5 2600? I expressed my opinion explicitly in my Ryzen 5 2600 review. You should probably watch that video. I'm not going to spoil it. You got to go watch it. That's why it's up there. Let's see. Michael, I think is how you say your name. Anyway, if my motherboard only supports one 5-volt RGB header, how many headers at maximum can RGB splitters handle? Interesting. I don't really know, but I know that if you keep splitting voltage, right, you're just going to have less voltage going through the entire thing. So your RGBs will be dimming over time if you keep applying more power to them. I actually don't know how that scales, but I know that if you have like a single battery and you hook up a strip of LEDs and then you add another strip after that and another strip after that, right? So you have less current that can flow through each strip individually, and that's why they're dimmer. But I don't really know the answer to that question. I really don't. I wish I did. Let's see if I can find anything on that online. Let's see here. Let's see here. We have, Bida. Is that you say your name? Bida? I'm gonna say Bida. Would you recommend a gaming laptop with a Ryzen chip and an AMD GPU? Sure. I mean, excuse me. Gaming laptops in general, I don't like too much because usually they're bulky, and if they're not bulky, they make compromises elsewhere. They're super loud, battery life is trash. I mean, there are some legitimate, like, super powerful gaming laptops that only last 45 minutes when playing a video game on a full charge. To me, that's terrible, but that's exactly what happens with those beefier laptops, because you can't have anything higher than 100 megawatt hour or milli. You guys know what I'm talking about. 100 watt battery. Can't have anything bigger than that. And the reason why you can't is because you can't take those things on planes. So that would basically ground your whole system. You can never take that anywhere. And the whole point of a laptop is for it to be portable so you can take it anywhere. So they're limited by federal regulations and stuff. Obviously, the battery should be a lot bigger if the government would allow it, and it would be, easy to take those on planes. So yeah. I know, yeah, live chat latency. Yeah, I'm gonna blame YouTube. I could drop the latency significantly, but it would increase significantly the the amount of pull on my internet. So maybe I'll try it and just see how latent it is. If I just like completely like make it, there's a setting in there when I set up the live stream that makes it like literally not latent at all. But I don't know if I'm gonna have severe lags doing that. So we'll see anyway. Albert Crow says, thank you, Greg. I don't know what you're thinking me about, but you're welcome. Let's see. Jeremy R. Greg, go for the Galaxy S9. It's better than the V30. Screen is superior. Best on the market, no doubt. How is the screen superior? Because I know that, like, this is Super AMOLED. I mean, it's the same technology. I know there are probably subtle differences in color gamut and stuff like that, but I think that like the differences between screens at this point, as long as they're all Super AMOLED and 1440p plus, pretty marginal. Like, I'm not too picky about the screen, and I really like the battery life on this thing. Battery life is really incredible. I also hate TouchWiz. I don't like Bixby. I don't like any of that crap. I like a stock Android experience, and you can't even root because you trip Knox every time you try to do that with a Samsung phone. You can't even root the dang thing. So not that this is rooted. I plan to root it eventually. Okay, scrolling down here, scrolling down. I see the good questions. Every time I do this, it like skips across all these good questions. Okay. Amnesia Scrub 12 at Science Studio. Do you think a 10-month-old Zotac GTX 1060 6GB AMP edition for $188 is good? Yeah, that's a good price. Anything under $200 for a 1060 is a really good price. Still under warranty too. I would describe it. Physical quality is A-. Yeah, I mean, if it's like if there are noticeable chips on the board or like chips in the shroud and stuff, and like one fan's dead, I wouldn't do that because it's just gonna be a pain to replace those parts. But $188 for a card that functions and looks good is a really good price, especially for a 1060 to 6GB card. And Zotac AMP that's a good brand. Let's see here. Honey Badger says $14.99 for an i7 8700K and a GTX 1070 new. Good deal. It's an okay deal. I don't think it's anything exceptional. I could build something comparable. I mean, you can with most pre-builds. I don't think you're gonna get much of a discount because they have to have, they have markups, right? But they buy in bulk, so usually they get all these components for a lot cheaper than we do, because instead of buying one graphics card, they'll buy 20, right? And they'll get a discount for buying 20 instead of one. But the margins themselves usually don't trickle down to the consumer. So you could usually build a pre-built yourself for around that price at this, with the same specs. It's just to save people time having to build them. So under almost all circumstances with pre-builts, especially right now, I would recommend building your own, because you can pick the parts you want and you can ensure that the power supply and everything else in there is a good power supply and good whatever else you're concerned about. My voice is just shot right now. Ooh, what's up, Weston Bear? Hi, Greg. Glad I could catch the stream. Would you recommend the Logitech MX Master 2S for productivity? Logitech? You mean Logitech? I've never even heard of Logitech. Oh gosh, yeah, Logitech. Let's see here. It looks pretty cool. I've never been into like those huge swooping wings on mouses though. Mice, I should say. I mean, yeah, it's really, mouses are mice are very, very subjective. I don't like claw grip mice. I don't like mice with like very elaborate things stemming from them. I like very simple mice. Just because that's what I've used growing up. Okay, scrolling down here. Scrolling down. Okay. We got good stuff. Okay. Joseph Cano. What's going on, Joseph? I see you. When do you think the 1050 Ti will become obsolete? I don't know when I should upgrade from that card for 1080p gaming on AAA titles. 1050 Ti, like, you're not gonna be able to max games out in 1080p, right? Unless you're playing some like MOBAs, like you know, if you're playing like League of Legends or something, yeah, you probably get close to maxing those out in 1080p. But the AAA titles, like you're saying here, are going to be difficult to max out. So you're already limited by that side of it. If you are gaming at a higher refresh rate, then you're already kind of making a compromise in that respect, right? Because the 1050 Ti is not going to really benefit you the higher frame rate. That's going to bottleneck you from a CPU perspective. You're probably going to be good for the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, really, whenever you start to notice that your games are lagging behind and you can't bump the settings any longer, that's when you should upgrade. And it's totally dependent on the person and the types of games that you play. So I really can't answer that. It's all up to you. Okay, here. Scrolling down to the good stuff. Contra says, when you're talking about PC peripherals, it's mouses, Greg. I don't know. I've heard people say mice, dude. Like, I don't think that's a rule. I've heard a lot of people say mice. Like, gaming mice? You don't say gaming mouses. Mouses isn't a word, I don't think. That's why it's called mice. It's like saying deer and deers. Like, no one says beers because that's not a word. It's not a really good analogy, but you get what I'm trying to say. Okay, scrolling down here. I don't know why YouTube sometimes blocks comments that like are perfectly fine. Tech City, yeah, Brian says, wrong, Greg. You are going to need a 2990 WX to play League of Legends. Dude, I'm gonna have to like DM you on the low so you can give me that Cinebench score, because I want to know how that thing crushes Cinebench. Like, I'm so like the 7980 XE at like 4.2 will get around 4000 CB, but we're talking like, I mean, 32 cores. Like, anything past 30 cores is already freaking insane. 32, when we get up to like 36 and 40, some of the Xeons have like, what, 44 cores? It's just insane. I don't know. I can't picture, you know, I just can't picture 32 cores going crazy like that. But you'll definitely have to fill me in. That sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, see, Adam Stevens says it's gaming mice. So, it's gaming mice. Sad Kashif says Logitech G502 is the best. I've heard good things about that mouse. That's a good mouse. Yeah, Project Zero Gaming says gaming mouses. It just sounds so bad. Weston Bear prefers Mies, you know, gaming Mies. I should just troll people whenever I review any peripheral and then like it's involving a mouse and I'm talking about more than one. I'm just gonna say gaming Mies, and I'm totally gonna ignore all the like hate that I get in the comments for it. You know, every time you say something incorrect, everyone is sure to jump to the comment section, and that's rightfully so. I'm glad they do, but it's just funny how so many people do. Like, they'll see other people already commented the same thing, and they'll feel like commenting it anyway, just because it makes them feel good. I don't know, but like doing that is what I kind of look for, because reading some of your comments sometimes are really interesting, especially if I troll you and like I know I'm trolling you. It'll be really good. Contra says, stop making fun of me, I'm sorry. It's okay. You might have been trolling me. You should just play that card. It's easy. Whenever you do something dumb and you did it intentionally but nobody knows you did it intentionally, just say, oh no, I was trolling you, and then you're off the hook, right? That's easy. Let's see. Hasek03, want to get into music production? Should I just get a MacBook? I know plenty of people using MacBooks for music production. I don't want to recommend a MacBook. You could get by with any other. Only choose a wow. Only choose a MacBook if you want Mac OS software. So if you want to use some proprietary program within Mac OS that you can't get obviously on Windows, then go with the MacBook. But that's really the only scenario in which I would recommend a MacBook over a Windows counterpart. Okay, let's see. Gaming Moosin. Oh, Jesus. Let's see. Steven Johnson, what do you think about ray tracing? I have videos touching on the technology behind ray tracing. I haven't talked specifically about ray tracing yet, so I will be sure to get a video out soon. A Minute Science episode we'll do on ray tracing. And hopefully you guys enjoy that one. The last couple minute science videos, we didn't get many views on, so you know, that's why I haven't been doing many of them. I'm not going to make videos that not a lot of people want to watch, because I'm not in the business of pleasing few people. I want to keep a lot of you guys happy, because I can't survive as a person running a channel full time if not a lot of people are interested in the content I'm uploading. So I'm trying to get videos out there that a lot of people are interested in, or at least curious about, even the extreme stuff like the delidding stuff. So we'll see, but I'm sure it won't come out soon. Let's see here. Yeah, that's true. You could always buy a cheap laptop and Hackintosh it. I mean, yeah, you'd have to. That's true, but Hackintosh is. I've looked at all the stuff you got to do to hack some of those computers. Hack it, you know, to throw in Mac OS, and it's not easy. Someone said, do not give them ideas. Oh, jeez. In most cases, the plural of mouse is mice, but more than one computer mouse can also be called mouses. Where did you get that from, West? That sounds interesting, but I'm not buying it. I can't buy it. I don't believe it. Quinny Boy, what do you want to do in the future? I want to be able to do YouTube part-time, kind of like how I was in college, which I was still basically doing full-time, and I want to have a real job at the same time. I think having a real job gives me the benefits, right? Health benefits, insurance, and retirement benefits that I don't get working for YouTube full-time, but at the same time I can still enjoy, you know, being able to create videos for you guys, having passive income kind of on the side. I think that would be the best of both worlds. So we'll see very soon. What do you think of advancements in gaming on Linux? I don't game in Linux. I don't use Linux much at all. I don't really like Linux. I used Linux once on a Chromebook and I hated it and I never went back. That's just me. It's just not my cup of tea. Lance West, why not liquid metal on the direct die? Because I said in that video I wanted to show the difference between stock Intel TIM and MX4. That was the point of the video. So I didn't go out and buy liquid metal because I wasn't planning on doing that. But when I realized that I had been sent a direct die kit, yeah, that would have been a better option. But it's not a big deal. I did want to show the difference between regular MX4, mainstream thermal compound, and Intel TIM. That was the reason. Okay, Bazinga, again, another $5 super chat, my dude. But what about a mouse after Pepsi gets a hold of it? It's really funny, actually. Whenever I'm playing games or whatever, if I'm just surfing the web, you know, you have your mouse on screen, right? And Pepsi will see that on screen and she will chase it and she'll claw it. I'm sure she scratched this monitor quite a bit. And I love this monitor. This is that Asus 165Hz 1440p monitor. I bought this myself. It's my baby. And she scratched the crap out of it once. And I was like, oh, you know, when you see it happen, you're just like, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to just stop and stare and cringe. That was my experience. And I dreaded it. Oh, Will said, add everyone PUBG. Oh, it doesn't work here. I had to ask Will to stop adding everyone in Discord, because every time we want to play Discord, we try to get people to, well, not every time, but we try to get people sometimes from Discord to play with us. And whenever we add everyone, people always complain. So, got to keep the people happy, got to keep the peace. Let's see. By the way, why do you love streaming at this exact time at 6 a.m. here? That's because it's not 6 a.m. here, because I don't live in your time zone. So for me, it's like, it's night. It's like 9, I start at 9 p.m. CST. I can't stream at the perfect time for everybody because the world is round and the way it works, it's going to be nighttime somewhere. So I'm sorry. But thank you for stopping by, especially this early in the morning, watching a live stream on tech. Jesus, you are awesome. Carlos Torres, have you ever done any videos with Linus? That is a no. Would be cool to. I mean, I feel like he wouldn't because I'm so much smaller than he is. But, I mean, it would definitely benefit me way more than it would benefit him, and he knows that, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why. But it's not something that I'm going to beg for. iStrive G, yeah, I've been researching both of them. I do have 4 fans in my case. Oh, I'm totally reading that out of context. Totally out of context. Drew Garber, what do you think about the ROG gaming phone? I think it looks silly. I think it looks too, like, bloated. I mean, it's cool. It's pretty, the technology behind it, how they cool it, all that stuff, it looks really cool, but, really cool. But I don't think that it's a phone I would ever entertain as, like, a daily driver, just because it's so weirdly shaped and just, eh. Okay, will gaming PCs get as small as smartphones in the future, maybe in 10 to 20 years from now? I'm sure. I mean, look how much smaller we've gotten the smartphone. I mean, this isn't even, like, a small phone. We made them bigger because of screen size, right? But we could have gotten a lot smaller than this if we really wanted. So, yeah, I'm sure at some point we will. I think we'll be limited more or less by we'll have thermal limitations more than anything. I don't think we'll be constrained by power. We see how efficient things are getting over time. I think we'll be more constrained by temperatures. So if we can figure that out, then yeah, that will be where we go. Excuse me. Let's see here. Wilmer Baruka says, every time I comment, he's not looking at the screen. I'm actually looking at the screen a lot. Like, the comment section's right here. I look at it a lot, but I just read that comment, so you totally missed your opportunity to actually ask your question in that comment. Instead, you wanted to say that. I'll look for you, Wilmer. I'll look for you. Let's see. Blades Lash says, you should do some rig pimping on your live stream. Comment on people's builds aesthetics. Yeah, we can do that. That's fine. What we can do is maybe we'll put together a little mini series where you guys send me pics of your rigs and I'll critique them in actual videos. You know, like, that'll be cool content. I know it's definitely something other people have done before. But you guys know what I do on Craigslist and stuff, so maybe you want, like, my perspective. I don't know if you think it's worth it or not, but if you do think it's worth it, then maybe we'll set something like that up very soon. Let's see. Scrolling down. A couple more questions here, and then we're going to end with a bang again. Okay, scrolling down. Scrolling down. What about Razer gaming phone? I don't like the way it looks. I think the bezels are too big on it, and it just looks a little silly. Same thing. Like, I'm really picky about, like, how good a phone looks. Like, I think this looks super slick. Like, I love the way this phone looks. I wish it was a little smaller. I don't like huge phones. I want to be able to use it. I want to use the phone with one hand and not have to, like, slide it up and down my hand, right? So that's why, like, I often switch between this and the iPhone SE, because it's like a 4-inch screen, much smaller, hard to switch between them, but once I'm used to the smaller screen, I love how portable and tiny it is. So if we could get, like, an iPhone 10 style phone minus the notch in, like, a 4 and a 4.5 inch form factor, that would be the perfect phone for me. But then you lose battery capacity and all that stuff, so it's a trade-off. Okay, all right. One more question. Give me one more good question. Good question. Let's see. He says, I definitely want your take on a Savage Studio style. I'm not going to, like, rip into your builds. You guys will hate me if I do that, but I'll be picky if you want me to. We'll have to gauge. We'll do, like, a survey on Twitter how, like, picky you want me to be about builds, and then maybe I'll do it that way, just depending on what you guys want. Okay, let's see. I see some good questions. Good stuff. Good stuff. Brian Staker, the next live stream, the streams are always on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Sunday nights, 9 p.m. CST, Central Standard Time, I should say. Okay, I see. Carlos Torres says, what is love? Love is love. Let's see here. I see good questions. You going in timeout? Yeah, I saw that ninja sauce. Okay. What about the new iPhone rumors? Yeah, maybe. Eric asks, will you grow out your beard? No. It looks silly when I try to grow it out. What game have you grinded the most? I talked about that early in the live stream. Scroll back in the live stream. I talk about what game I play the most. Thank you for that. Awesome. Picture of my rig. Okay, cool. So you guys seem to be interested in the rig thing. So if you guys want to send pictures of your rigs, we can totally do that. We'll set up, I'll tell you what we'll do. You can submit your pics either on Discord. We'll set up a separate channel for you guys to submit your PC picture. And I want it to just be like one side shot, kind of like what Awesome Hardware does, right? Kyle and Paul do that thing where they kind of do the live stream showcase of PCs. So we can do that, but you guys got to send just one picture, don't spam it, of the side of your PC with the window or side panel off. And that way I can look inside your build. So we'll set something like that. Stay tuned. Join the Discord, the public Discord. It's linked down below, and you'll be able to submit your builds there. Matthew Kirkman asked, did you go to Troy University from Alabama? I did go to Troy for 1 year before I went to UL. So I was a business major, then I switched to engineering school, and that was where I ended up graduating. Let's see. iStrive G, I answered one of your questions before. I can't answer all of your questions. Like, he says, yo, rip me, bro, he never answers my questions. There are plenty of people in the stream who haven't answered your question, like, who haven't had their questions answered. So if you expect all your questions to be answered, you will be disappointed every single time. Carlos D Squirrel, check the Discord link is in the video description, so just click on that, and that's the link. Let's see, what streaming software are you using? Good question. I'm using Streamlabs, OBS, just straight up Streamlabs. I'm not using OBS, even though it's the OBS compatible thing, but I use Streamlabs for streaming. Let's see, is an RX 580 and an i5 8400 good for running games on high at 1080p? Sure, that's a good combo there. Thoughts on Cooler Master AIOs? I'm using one right now in this 2700 rig, and it's pretty quiet, keeps it nice and cool, pretty cheap, affordable, looks clean. It's a good AIO. This is just a 120mm AIO. Let's see here, Tech Crimson spamming the Discord link, you guys see it. I'm sure this will be delayed, but you know what to do. And now we gonna end the live stream by you guys spamming. That's right. You have permission to spam the chat with your favorite emojis. You can spam as many emojis as you want, and this will be my way of giving you, as many of you as I can, a personal shout out for watching the live stream. So if you spam it with the good stuff, then I'll be able to say, yo, so-and-so, thanks for watching. Just like that. West says, see how I had to block it. There it is. I see it. So spam the chat with your favorite emojis. Just do it. I'm waiting for them. Remember, there's a little delay here, so give me a second, and I'll start seeing them, and then you'll hear me give you the shout-out after the fact. Jeremy, I see ya. Alex Wood, how you doing? Weston Bar, what's going on? Let's see here. Trucker Bomb. I don't know why YouTube hid Trucker Bomb's comment. That was weird. I see Jeremy R again. I see Tech Crimson. I see Carlos D Squirrel. Trucker Bomb, how-to tutorial. Ooh, Blake Scott, I see that. I see that. Let's see, we got Wilmer Baruka, Cream Gems, Corey Mooney, 21st Century Gamer. I see Waffle Muncher. I see your name. Brian Staker, Eric Che, Ian. Oh gosh, Fandango 2304. I see. What do we have here? Platinum Fox, Pablo Salazar. I see original YouTuber. I see Chuck Norris. I see Z77 Job JW. Oh gosh, there are so many now. Jonathan Gambrell. Sorry, I butchered that. What's up, Trojan Gaming again? Brandon Davidson Bazinga. Chuck Norris. Alex Wood. And Girish Sardi. Ian. Oh my gosh, there are so many of them here. This is good stuff, folks. I appreciate it. RJ Games, what's going on, my dude? Dominic Treadwell, Assault Flamingo with those peace signs. I'm liking it. I see Michael Fogelstad. I see James Hall. I see Fred Morris. I see Psychotic Productions. I see Alejandro Maquinto. I see, let's see, Justin Parrish. I see the good stuff. Hypno Media. I see Blade Zilash. What's going on, folks? Saad Kashif, Kevin, whatever the last name is. I can't read. All right, folks, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to stay tuned every Sunday night and or Monday morning, depending on where you live. We have after-hour streams every Sunday night, 9 p.m. CST, and I'm here just to answer your questions. So whatever you guys want to ask me, especially if it's related to tech, you can do that in these live streams. That's why I have them every week, because it keeps me in touch on a more personal level with all of you. I appreciate you guys watching, and don't be shy. Watch our videos this next week coming up. I think you're going to enjoy them. This is Science Studio. Thanks for watching.